On the question of how do we happen to run up this debt, first of all, it's a testament in a way to the strength of the U.S. economy that we're able to run up such debt. Because if you think of it, it's really quite remarkable that many trillions of dollars can be successfully floated. Somebody has, at very low interest rates, some bodies all over the world have an awful lot of confidence in this government's ability to repay. If we were conducting ourselves, or if we were perceived to be conducting ourselves in the way that, say, certain Latin American nations were in the debt crisis that began in '82, we would have a very powerful discipline from the market that would stop us from running up the debt. You couldn't float the bonds. It'd be as simple as that. The same is true for a state or a locality or a private business or a private family or individual. They're subject to that discipline. Well, we're not subject to quite the same discipline because the world views the United States' future capacity to repay and its integrity with respect to that as so high. So you could say that's the good news on this story. The debt service in terms of interest is, by my tastes, way too high. I would rather see that very large, multi-hundred-billion-dollar interest burden reduced, and the money that's saved go not only to reducing the deficit, but going to other useful investment purposes in the United States that build for the future. One of the worst characteristics of our debt, I mean, debt. Let me back up one step, if I may. Debt itself isn't necessarily bad. I mean, obviously there are people who do view it as bad, but the world at all these different levels functions by and large with debt. Debt isn't necessarily bad, provided, in my view, the proceeds from the debt are allocated to constructive purposes, to, in effect, if you borrow the word and apply it in the public sector, investment from which the people who have to endure the burden of the debt benefit. That is to say, if we were using the proceeds of our debt to invest in any number of things, the benefit of which would accrue to future generations, then there wouldn't be such a problem that I view as a moral problem of our generation subsidizing our current consumption and leaving the bills to the people in the future without using the proceeds to leave them with a substantially better world thanks to the debt. Now, even that, I should note, is arguable, because there are people who would look at the Reagan-Bush years to some degree correctly and say a portion of the debt came from a military buildup which could be viewed as investment. There were many in our society who didn't want to view it that way, but at least there is a legitimate argument, in my opinion, to say that the military buildup was an investment, that part of the return on that investment was not just current national security, but the ultimate breakup of the Soviet Empire, and that, to the extent you buy this view, and I do, is for the benefit of future generations, not just current generations. But even when you're done with that kind of analysis, I think you would reach the conclusion that we overconsume in the present relative to what we're paying, and we are, therefore, doing something that is, by my lights and probably most of yours, wrong. We're borrowing improperly from the future and leaving them with a burden we shouldn't. Why does the political system do it? I believe there is just an extraordinarily simple answer. That doesn't mean there's a simple solution, but the answer is just painfully simple.